Renegades at the Panthers. Hometown Cats favored by 4. Totals are lowest of the weekend here at 42. Forecast looking much better for Jake Bates, who didn't quite look as automatic outside as he has inside Ford Field. Let's go ahead and start with that Michigan offense here. And there's an obvious edge. It's the winning formula, really, for the Panthers all season has been running the ball, stopping the run. And that's a pretty easy formula to win with across all levels of football, which head coach Mike Nolan has to absolutely love that they've been able to do that. But it does strike me a little strange that offensive coordinator Marcel Belfay has been okay with it. I mean, traditionally, he runs more of an air raid style. And we looked at his offense coming into the season and thought they were going to air this thing out a lot, but kudos to him for being able to adapt. They end up with the number 2 rushing offense as it stands right now. 111 yards a game for the Panthers on the ground. And that could be a winning strategy against the Arlington Renegades, who are the standalone worst rush defense in the UFL and might be one of the worst rush defenses in spring football ever. They're the only team to give up over 5 yards a carry this season. Only team to give up an average of over 100 a game on the ground. And think about some of the running back performances that we've had against this defense, even going back to week 1 with C.J. Marable. Broke out, had his best game there. Mateo Durant, who's now on the IR for St. Louis, looked like he was about to run away with the UFL rushing title in week 2. And even John Lovett. Last week, nobody could tackle the guy. So, I mean, this is an opportunity for both Wes Hills and Matt Colburn to have some of their best games. And they're also very poor at stopping mobile quarterbacks, right? We saw Jordan Ta'amu just run right up the middle, QB draw on them time and time again. So I think Danny Etling for Michigan has some of that mobility in him, and he might be able to gash them for a few runs. To make things worse for the Renegades, Will Clark has not practiced this week. He's probably the best edge rusher they have on that line. Jalen Redmond has been out a couple weeks. Doesn't look like he's coming back anytime soon on the interior. So I'd expect a heavy dose here of Hills and Colburn. A nice little 1-2 punch the Michigan backfield has going there. We saw it in full display last week. If Arlington, if they do step up and stop the run here, which would surprise me, then I do have some concerns about Michigan's effectiveness in the pass game. Just for the Panthers, just 3 passing touchdowns this season compared to 10 on the ground. That's a little too much imbalance than what I'm comfortable with. And especially when you look at those 3 passing touchdowns, they've all been explosive plays of like 50 yards or more, which tells me that the red zone pass game has been non-existent for this offense. And anytime they get inside the 20, they're going to run the ball, which, you don't want to be one-dimensional there. But I still think that the Panthers can establish the run. I think they will establish the run. So I do give a pretty good sized edge. And when you really look at this matchup, that's kind of what stands out, right? Really good rushing offense, really bad rush defense. Now, it doesn't always work that way. But I would be willing to bet that Mike Nolan and Marcel Belfay are going to go to the run early and often in this one in Ford Field. When it comes to the Renegade offense against the Panthers D, I'm really getting tired of begging Bob Stoops to just try to start Lindsey Scott Jr. Right? And I get it. You have to ask yourself at some point, though, why did we take this guy, number 1 overall, ahead of Ja'Cour Pearson, if we can't even start him on an 0-5 team? What have you got to lose? Even if you win out, you're not making the playoffs at 5-5. Not in this conference. They thought they made it at 4-6 last season. That is not happening this year. So I would love to know some things about the Renegades. Why'd they cut Juice Ellison? That's the big question. They cut him, and then a couple weeks later, their in-state rival, their in-conference rival, picks him up, and he gashes him. 84 yards on 7 carries for Juice. That's a kick in the pants. Meanwhile, in your run game, you've got Davion Smith, 3.2 yards a carry, and much of the same last season there. So they haven't had a run play of over 16 yards all season. How, when you have a quarterback who ran for 3,000 yards and like 35-plus touchdowns in his career in Lindsey Scott? But they stick with Luis Perez, which is fine. He's leading the league in passing. It's not his fault. But you got to try something here. Things aren't going to get any easier this week against a solid Michigan defense. And they did take a big loss. Defensive tackle Daniel Wise out for the year. That's tough. He was a force up front. So life a little easier for Arlington this week maybe. But Michigan can get to the quarterback. 7 sacks against Memphis last week. They're very good on third down. I've been impressed with the job that Colin Bauer has been able to do here. They stopped the run. They only allow 71 a game on the ground. So, yeah, I kind of lean Michigan defense. And even with that edge, though, that I'm giving to Michigan's offense and their defense, 4 is kind of too much here for me to lay the points. I don't want to. I think I am going to go Panthers straight up here, Zook. I do think that there's probably still some truth to the fact that until Arlington beats somebody, you don't want to play them. I don't know. Coaches probably wouldn't agree with that. That's more of like a broadcaster sentiment, trying to create storyline maybe. But do you want to play Arlington down the stretch? They feel to me like it's this team that is not going to have any pressure. They're going to play loose. At this point, it's all about film and you know, nobody believes that they're going to win a game and just all the weight off their shoulders of being locked in a tight playoff race and maybe it's not that. Maybe there is pressure to win here, but I don't know. You don't want to become the victim to the Arlington Renegades getting their first win. It reminds me of DC last season. They became the victim to the Orlando Guardians getting their first win and getting that triumph. You don't want to be in that spot, especially when it could keep you out of the playoffs. So, will Arlington get to the level that they played in the playoffs last year at some point this season? I don't know. I haven't seen anything from them to believe that they will. Even last week, they head to the fourth quarter up 10, or no, they're head of the fourth quarter. It's a 15-15 game, right? They lose by 10. It seemed like they had no plan in that 2-minute offense. They're just dinking and dunking it down the field. So I'm going Michigan here. Zook, who you got?
Shocker. I have a shocker.
This is the week.
This is it.
This is the week.
We're taking Renegades. Now, I'll preface this with...
Send in the trainer. Someone needs some help for a brain injury.